We welcome you. We acknowledge that nothing happens by chance, that we're all here by what? Divine appointment. We have a divine appointment to be here. And as we come together this morning to acknowledge that divine appointment, I say to our listening and viewing audience that you too tuned in at this moment so that your life can be transformed by the renewing of that energy that allows you to know that you and God are the majority. Each and every one of us has a relationship with our higher power. And we are receiving so many letters and cards and emails from our viewing audience, namely from our Facebook community, but also the World Wide Web. And we're very grateful for that, and thank you for your donations, because they assist us in getting this message out. And the reason I love our way of life so much is that if you give a man bread, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to plant, you feed him for a lifetime. These universal principles of life that we use in our daily life, which is our temple and our religion. Our daily life is our temple and our religion. And how we awaken in the morning to take that first conscious breath and to recognize that we are not alone, that there is an energy that surrounds us, that is with us, that goes before us, and prepares the way. And we can feel that energy. So this morning, as we come together on the very first Sunday of the year of our Lord, 2014, affirming and sharing our mantra, it's a whole new beautiful scene in 2014, that we open the space to allow God to do what God does best by means of each and every one of us who heard the call, and we answered, and here we are in community. So as we look at the power of belief and the biology of belief, there is a wonderful book by Dr. Bruce Lipton. And Dr. Bruce Lipton wrote The Biology of Belief, in which he was just amazed, because he was a scientist, and he was amazed that the beliefs had any kind of energetic influence over the body temple. That at a DNA cellular level, everything is responding to our energy. Where thought goes, energy flows, and a life unfolds. This is how it is when we are in tune with the infinite, and that we're directing that energy. And those off moments, and you know, I have a great sense of humor. I mean, I have a wild sense of humor. But I no longer laugh or invite things that either make fun of myself or others, or a lower vibratory frequency. I just will not allow that in my consciousness. Mary Baker Eddy said, stand, Porter, at the gate of your conscious mind and allow only those things in that are life-giving, that are going to lift you. These are the science of mind principles. They are the foundation of our lives. And the more conscious we become, the more conscious our language is. And we can still laugh and have fun, and there's some just great, wonderful, energetic things that are out there. And to laugh at ourselves and our own energetically, you know, my daughter says, Mother, you and your Lucille Ball situations, that we can laugh at ourselves in those situations and acknowledge that there is a power and a presence greater than we are using it. It's part of us. We're co-creators with this energy that we choose to call God. Call it anything you like, whatever resonates to you. The Bible states in Psalms 46:10, be still and know that I am God. That energy lives and moves and has its being at the center of our one life, which is God's life, which is our life now. And that we open ourselves up to that energy. And if we have challenges, as we looked at this last year, what were some of our best moments that we experienced? And as we look at our best moments, our most joyous moments, we know that joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. It's the joy. And if we are not feeling joyful, we let something else in. It's like ego. It's that ego that gets in there and starts the little whispering, and then we start doubting, and we go into that thing. Be still and know that I am God. Jesus became the Christ because his humanness, he just let go of that humanness. Did he have upsets? Yeah, he did. He threw the money changers out of the temple and said, you've turned my father's house into a den of thieves. Get the hell out of here. That's what he basically was saying. He was furious that they would do this. He looked over Jerusalem, he wept. I mean, it was a bad scene on that particular day. And then he said, be of good cheer. This is after 40 days of fasting, being up on the mountain. Where is the mountain within us? In our higher consciousness. He said, be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. I have overcome the world of conditions. I have overcome the world of appearances. I have overcome the world of effects. Be of good cheer. I have overcome all these things that I saw as upsets and irritations, that I no longer need to judge them. I can just let it be. You can feel that. He just let it be. Buddha, when he finally got it under the Bodhi tree, he suffered, he fasted, he ate worms, he did everything you can imagine to find enlightenment. Finally, he just let it all go, sat down under a tree, and the whole universe was revealed to him. The whole universe. Be still and know that I am God. To use the sacred I am, to believe so deeply in ourselves, as our wonderful Fleet sang this morning, believe in yourself. Believe in that energy that lives and moves and has its being right where you are. And those moments of doubt where we are doubting and we're fearing, that we can let it go. And we also have an amazing ministry of prayer, a miracle-working ministry of prayer in this ministry. And believe me, I have called upon it. So when I looked at this year, my most joyous moments are being with my family. With my family, my daughter, my extended family, my brothers and sisters, with all of you. These are to me the most joyous moments for me. And in almost 40 years of doing this work. And to realize that every single day is a day that we can grow. No one arrives. All my colleagues, it's so interesting when we get together. Sometimes there's a venting session. This is healthy, right? To vent and to let it all go and say, I would not be in any other way of life. I would not be in any other profession. I feel blessed that it called me. And it was so interesting, when I was in the School of Ministry, I was teaching self-image psychology in 3 different universities. And my husband, my late husband, Neil Stroud, which tomorrow is his birthday, along with our Kay Sharma, he said, you're a natural. I think you should go for it, because I was taking all the classes. And I said, well, I don't want to be a minister. And he said, well, just take it for your own edification. And what I loved is that my teachers would ask me to speak for them at their pulpits, and that I could talk about God, where in the setting of a university you cannot say G-O-D. You cannot refer to spirituality. It was interesting, and I found that I loved talking about God and the energy of my higher power and the energy that went before me and prepared the way, and founded the ministry that is in Santa Clarita, which is still going after 39 years. They've been through so many ministers, but they're still there. They said, we're still here. We are still here. Think of all our experiences, and we can say, we're still here. We still got it. We hear the call. We acknowledge that call. We are still here. Be still and know that I am God, that I live and move and have my being in that presence. Dr. Joseph Dispenza, who was on What the Bleep Do We Know? Wonderful chiropractor. And he was actually majoring in microbiology. And when we look at the biology of belief, he said that he did a study of those people who had terminal illnesses and then went into, he called remissions, I call them healings. That we know it's done its perfect work. I don't need it anymore. It's surfaced. I bless it. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. It's unfolding. It's done its perfect work. And there were 4 components within these individuals that have these healings from terminal diseases. And he said the first was they all believed in a higher power. They believed in a divinity within them. They believed that there was something in the energy field guiding and directing them, that they could feel it. And he said, these people came from all walks of life and all religions, but they all had that singular thing in common. They believed in a higher power. The second component that they all had in common was they believed on some level that somehow their thoughts had something to do with the situation that they found themselves in, and that their thoughts could lift them out. So he said, interestingly enough, that scientists are all into matter. And he said that the spiritual people are into mind. And of course, Dr. Seuss says, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter, right? So energetically, they began to look at the more positive in their life. They began to look at what was working in their lives, focusing on what was working, focusing on positive affirmations, focusing on getting themselves in a spirit, mind, and body relationship that worked for them. And the third component was that they recognized that they would have to reinvent themselves. And they began reinventing themselves and doing things that they never did before, and putting themselves out there in a greater way. And the fourth was that they became so interested in their lives, think about it, that they would be at some task and they would go in, I call it stepping into the eternal, timelessness, where amounts of time would go, and they were in so much joy in being in the moment and so grateful to be alive. And if you're going to be alive, be totally alive, with quality, with a sense of being in the world but not of it. And that knowingness, be of good cheer. I have overcome all that outer stuff that I would give my power away to, that I'd be so upset about. Be of good cheer. I have overcome that. I don't need to throw anybody out of the temple anymore. I can just let it be, right? I can be who I am and let my light so shine before the world that they see who I am and they glorify something about me. And that is that Christ consciousness, that universal energy that is within each and every one of us, and we feel it. We feel it in each other, and people say, what is it you have? I want some. I want some. What vitamins are you taking? I want some. But we know that it is our way of life. I love when one of our community said that when he goes into his meditation, he goes to heaven. I love that, because we go to heaven or we go to hell. It's our choice. And when we go to heaven, it's a state of mind. When we go to hell, it's also a state of mind. Getting caught up in all the worries and the stuff. And the more, worry is a morbid use of the visualizing capacity of our mind. So to let that go and to go to heaven. And imagine if people stopped saying go to hell and said go to heaven. I like that better, don't you? Go to heaven. Yeah, I love it. And it was interesting, I was making a turn yesterday, and I was on Vistacino, and I was getting in the left lane to put on my signal, and got in the left lane so I could immediately turn left onto my street, and this guy in Indiana, like a big truck that he does gardening or something, and just laid on his horn, and I blessed him, and then as I turned the corner, he laid on it a little more, and I blessed him, said, Happy New Year to you too! Yeah, great! And that we don't have to take things personally, right? That where are we going that we need to lay on the horn in Palm Springs on Vistacino anyway? And so, in our gardening truck. So at 5 o'clock in the evening. So it's just interesting that that's a habit pattern. And that we let go and let God do what God does best. And that it's not such a huge deal. I mean, this morning we came in to this room, and it wasn't set up. It had tables and chairs around the table, and I said to Reverend Mike, not set up yet. And he said, yes, I went and notified them, about 5 minutes ago. And so then I went to someone that I just adore, Arturo, who is one of the head ballet, and said, our room isn't set up. So he got on the phone, and then she got back on the phone, and then, 30 minutes had gone by. I thought that was really too much. And I said, in the 10 years that we have been coming here, this has never happened. And they said, oh, that's great. And Arturo said, I'll get all the valets and I'll get all the parking attendants. We'll get that room in order. It'll be ready to go by the time everyone gets there. Everyone was working together as a team. This is life. When we work together as a team, when things have fallen apart, they're going to fall together at a higher level. And when they fall together at a higher level, that opens us up to realize, be of good cheer. I have overcome all of that. I don't need to give my power away to it. In those moments that I do, I'm going to recognize it so much faster that I don't need to do that, because we're all subject to the human condition, all of us. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. All have made mistakes and fallen short of their true self-image, is what that means. And I'm going to leave you with a beautiful little story about a little girl, 8 years old, very precocious, who overheard, this is in the Midwest, in the 30s, and she overheard her parents discussing her little brother, Andrew, and that he had something growing in his head, and they had no money, and they were moving out of their home into an apartment, and they didn't have money for this very expensive surgery. So she went to her room, she got on her little stool, she got her little jelly jar out, she unscrewed it, she poured out the money, she counted it, $1.11. She counted it again, $1.11. She counted it one more time, $1.11. She marched down, went out the back door, marched down to the Rexall drugstore. Remember when we used to have Rexall drugs? And she saw the pharmacist talking to someone, and she sort of scuffed around and went and scuffed, and they were in this conversation, and they weren't paying attention to her. So finally, she took a quarter out of her little jelly jar, and she went beat, she began to beat the top of the counter. Said, "Excuse me." And he said, "Excuse me, I'm speaking to my brother here who I haven't seen in ages." And she says, "Well, I'm here," and she was just as annoyed as he was, "and I'm here about my brother, and I need to buy a miracle." And he looked and he goes, "Well, we don't sell miracles here." And the brother said, "What kind of a miracle do you need, honey?" She said, "My brother has something growing in his head, and my parents don't have any money to pay for him to go to the hospital, and I have money for a miracle, and if you need more, I'll get it." He goes, "Well, how much do you have?" She goes, "I have $1.11. He goes, "Guess what? I'm a doctor, and I perform miracles today for $1.11. What kind of a miracle do you need?" She said, "I need my brother's, whatever's growing in his head, to get out." Dr. Carlton Armstrong, the foremost neurologist of the Midwest, is who she was talking to. He went to the house, he introduced himself. That child, Andrew, her brother, went to the hospital, had the tumor removed, and lived happily ever after. We're in the miracle business here. It's done unto us as we believe in our hearts, for where our treasure is, there our heart will be also. We can buy a miracle for $1.11. We go within, be still, and know that I am God, and that we are in the miracle business. And that does make all the difference. God bless you. I love you. And where are we going? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. Happy New Year, and God bless you.